You don't remember when they came. One moment you were in the fields, cooking, or asleep in the dark. The next, everything changed. There were shouts, smoke, and fire. They grabbed you, hit you, dragged you away. Now you are here, bound, filthy, and silent. The others around you are tied too. Some are children, some are elders. No one speaks. Some pray to gods who clearly weren't listening. You try not to cry. You don't want them to see you as weak. But you already know the truth. You don't belong to yourself anymore. You used to have a name, a family, a future. That was before the soldiers came, before the debt collector arrived, before your neighbor betrayed you. Now you are just one among many, another body in a long line of people reduced to property. Slavery did not begin with the Roman Empire, nor did it end with it. In the ancient world, it was everywhere. In Sumer, children were sold to repay debts. In Mesopotamia, enslaved people could be sacrificed in rituals. In ancient Greece, whole cities were enslaved after war. In Egypt, you could be born a slave and die without ever tasting freedom. The reasons didn't matter. You could be the wrong person in the wrong place at the wrong time. A soldier's prize, a temple servant, a merchant's investment. Whether through conquest, punishment, or poverty, the result was always the same. You were no longer a person. You were someone's possession. You walk for miles, chained to others. You are given no food, no rest, only orders. When you stumble, you are whipped. When you resist, you are struck harder. By the time you reach the market, your body is aching, but your mind is numb. You look around and realize this: there is no going back. No one is coming to save you. The people you loved, the language you spoke, the life you lived, it's all behind you now. Ahead, there is only uncertainty and servitude, because today, for the first time in your life, you are not free. And tomorrow, someone will buy you. They wash you in cold water, not to show you mercy, but to make you more presentable. They oil your skin, cover your bruises, make you stand up straight. Buyers like strength. They like smooth skin. They like silence. So you stay quiet. You are herded with others to the center of a city you've never seen. It stinks of bodies, sweat, and ambition. A wooden platform waits. Crowds gather. Some watch with boredom, others with hunger in their eyes. Coins jingle in their hands. They're here to shop. The auctioneer shouts things about you, your age, your teeth, your obedient nature. You are spun around, your limbs stretched, your hair yanked. You are inspected like livestock. Laughter rises from the crowd. You are afraid to look anyone in the eye. The last time you did, it cost you blood. In ancient markets, human beings were reduced to numbers and traits. In Athens, slaves were sold in public squares, often stripped naked to allow full inspection. In Rome, their profession was written on placards hung around their necks. A cook fetched one price, a scribe another, a virgin girl more than both. On the Greek island of Delos, thousands of people passed through its slave ports each year. In Egypt and Phoenicia, entire caravans of captives were processed and branded. Across the ancient Mediterranean, to be sold was not rare. It was business as usual. You could be sold once or many times. A change of owner did not mean a change in fate, just a change in hands. A man steps forward. He touches your jaw, your arms, your hips. He offers a price. Another bids more. You are worth something today, but not because of who you are, because of what you can do, or how you look, or how long you'll last. The deal is made. You are dragged off the stage. No one tells you where you'll be taken. There are no good outcomes here, only different types of service. And suffering. You are no longer yours. You are currency, investment, commodity. Someone now owns your future, and you haven't even spoken a word. You wake up before the sun. You don't need a master's voice or the crack of a whip. You've learned to rise in darkness. The floor is cold. Your body aches in places you've stopped counting. You eat nothing. You are already late. The labor is endless. You carry stones until your arms tremble. You dig trenches under the midday sun. You fetch water from wells deeper than you are tall. You learn to avoid eye contact, to anticipate commands, to disappear into silence. When your hands bleed, you keep working. When your knees give out, you crawl. They don't stop beating you just because you can't stand. The days blur together. Work, pain, sleep, if you're lucky. Then repeat. There is no reward, no comfort, no end. In the ancient world, labor defined a slave's existence. In Rome, some were sent to salt mines, where the air itself killed slowly. Others were tasked with turning millstones until their bones wore down. On Egyptian farms, slaves toiled under the lash to grow food they would never eat. Indoor slaves often had longer lives, but not easier ones. They dressed their masters, cleaned after their feasts, and raised their children. In Greece, skilled slaves could be teachers, doctors, or accountants, but their minds were still owned. Women suffered doubly. They worked by day and were expected to serve by night. A master's desire was law. Their children, if born, were often taken or sold. Even gladiators, those who fought for public entertainment, were slaves. If they won, they lived. If they lost, they died. Either way, they fought for someone else's applause. You once imagined you'd become something, perhaps a mason, a merchant, a father, or mother. Now your only dream is rest, not freedom. Just one day without orders, one night without fear. But dreams are dangerous. Hope makes you hesitate, and hesitation gets punished. So you lower your head, you dig deeper, you bleed quietly. Because in this life, pain is not a punishment, it's routine. You've heard whispers of someone who ran, of a master who died and set his slave free, of a priest who paid for a child's liberty. You don't know if the stories are true, but they cling to your mind like a secret fire. At night, you stare at the stars and imagine a different life. A life where you choose your own path, where you are called by name, where no one owns your breath, your body, your blood. You think about escape, but you've seen what happens to those who try. A missing ear, a broken leg, a shallow grave. So you wait. For kindness, for luck, for a miracle. In some ancient societies, freedom was possible, but rare. In Rome, a slave could buy their freedom through a process called manumitio, if they were allowed to keep earnings. Some were freed in their master's wills as gestures of charity or guilt. In Greece, temples sometimes served as sanctuaries, where fugitives could seek refuge. Records tell of real people who fought for freedom. In 14th century Crete, a woman named Theodora stood between her sons and a man who claimed to own them. She won. In the port city of Ragusa, an enslaved woman saved every coin she earned and finally bought her liberty, though her sister was given away as payment. Others ran. One man, Antoine, escaped from Barcelona and crossed the Pyrenees into France, where slavery was illegal. He risked everything and lived free. But for every story like his, there were hundreds more who failed, who vanished, who died nameless and forgotten. One morning, your master calls you forward. His mood is unreadable. He hands you a scrap of parchment, a seal, a gesture. He says you've earned your freedom. For a moment, you forget to breathe. Is this real? You step back slowly, afraid to turn your back, afraid to trust your legs. He waves you off like a stray dog. Just like that, it's over. But as you walk away, you hear crying behind you, a child's voice. And you realize freedom has a price, one you didn't know you'd pay. You are free. That's what they say. No one owns your name anymore. No one commands your days. But the weight remains. In your back, in your silence, in the way you flinch when a voice rises too quickly. Freedom came, but not like you imagined. There was no celebration, no homecoming, just an unfamiliar road, and a question you don't know how to answer. What now? You wander, you work, you try to forget. But your scars remember, and so do the chains. Even when they're gone, they echo. In time, slavery changed form, but it never truly disappeared. The same systems of ownership, exploitation, and control evolved with empires. In medieval Europe, slavery gave way to serfdom. In the Islamic world, eunuchs and concubines filled palaces. And soon, across oceans, came the trade of millions, this time marked by race and empire. The legal justifications began early. In the 15th century, the Pope gave Christian kings permission to enslave non-believers. Perpetual servitude, they called it. Religious, righteous, economic. By the time you read about these stories, the chains have changed. But they're still there, in forced labor camps, in trafficked children, in entire populations reduced to profit margins. You survived, but millions didn't. And even now, there are names never spoken, graves never marked, lives never mourned. If history has a voice, it whispers through the ones who endured. The girl who hid her name, the boy who died on the oar, the mother who chose her child's freedom over her own, and you. Your story is one of thousands. Of resilience, yes, but also of pain. A pain passed down, reshaped, rebranded, but never erased. So, the next time you hear the word slave in a history book, don't just read it, remember it. Because it wasn't just a word, it was a life. If this glimpse into the ancient world moved you, remember, it's not just the past we uncover, it's the people who lived it, who endured it, who mattered. At Primordia, we don't just tell history, we bring you inside it. So if you want to see the world through the eyes of the forgotten, the conquered, the survivors, subscribe. Because every story deserves to be told, even yours.